In a world full of distractions, there is one big question on every dog owner's lips.
How do I become more than just the person holding the other end of the leash?
We all get dogs with a dream in mind, a vision of the future. And if right now your everyday reality isn't quite that picture you had in mind, you are in the right place.
It really doesn't have to be this way.
You absolutely can and will be more to your dog than just the person who gets in between them and the world.
The key is you need to be more sexy.
More sexy than the neighbourhood cats.
More sexy than the jogger in the park.
More sexy than that half-eaten hamburger they just found on the floor.
And yes, even more sexy than the dog across the road.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Lauren.
Together we're Absolute Dogs.
And you're listening to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast.
Welcome to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast. And I'm speaking really loud because we're talking about loud things. We are going to be talking
noises.
We're going to be talking fireworks because it seems very topical that we talk about them this week because I believe this week, I'm no expert on the event, this week in the UK it is Bonfire night, where there are often fireworks.
Now, fireworks can be one of those things. I remember actually,
I was
in noises, Tom, noises, just not the actual time of year and periods. But I remember being, because this could be applied all over the year, right? And depending on where you are in the world as to when this might happen. And I remember being in Florida. It was New Year, a good few years ago now. And it was New Year, and we were Disney. And I'm not going to speak about Disney too much because it wasn't my favourite experience, and I'm probably going to alienate loads of people now. But Disney was an interesting place for me. But you know what? Everybody loved the fireworks. Yeah. However, every time I heard a firework, inside my stomach, it was like crunching. Yeah. And that was because I know what fireworks can do for so many dogs and animals, horses, cats, all over the world. And I know how, let's be honest, sometimes tragic it can be because fireworks really do, for dogs, sometimes create chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we're talking about this from the point of view of two dog trainers that actually we've never liked fireworks anyway. And I remember being at Disneyland when I was little and my parents had brought me, and I remember the display was going to start at 9:00 and I was thinking, oh gosh, I just want to go home and get excited about the next day. I wasn't enjoying this experience. And then like the first firework went off and I was like, great, Mum and Dad, can we go now? I've just never appreciated them.
And I mean,
ever.
They are terribly, terribly beautiful when you see them with no noise. But actually, it can just be such a fragile situation for dogs, for people, for anyone that's at all disoriented, and certainly animals. And so actually we want to do a bit of a prep edition or an edition where we talk to you about this can start months before the event. And I know loads of you guys have been listening to the podcast and you know all about all the sorts of programs we have and what we do, but this can obviously start way before, and hopefully we're working on a basis of calm. We've already got a dog with an empty bucket, or as empty a bucket as we can find. Something like our calm supplement might be a long-term plan for your dog, as well as something you can start immediately, but also could be working on a base of your dog already on Calm Canine, so your dog could already be taking that one. And actually we want to ideally start this with our dog in the best position they can be, because I think the thing with fireworks now, Tom, is they start way before the event and they seem to elongate and finish, especially, I mean, I was in Birmingham last fireworks night because I was working with the police force, and oh my goodness, they went on a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're aware that, you know, there's lots that you can do ahead of time. We talked about things that you can do and skills that you can build in previous episodes. We're aware that this is kind of the week of Bonfire night. So chances are there'll be fireworks happening, you know, right now, tonight or whenever you're listening to this. And so we want to almost give you some like... what's the word, like firefighting, reactive things that you can do, and proactive, you know, in the immediate leading up to the event, that's going to make this as good as it can be.
And I think that's really important. We acknowledge as good as it can be, because you know what, this situation sucks. And in some years to come, at some point, I don't believe that they will still be something we have. And at the same time, right now, this is where we are, this is what we've got, and here's where it's at, and let's make the very best of it that we can, given the sometimes difficult circumstances. Now, where Tom and I live, we're quite rural, and I'll be honest, last year, year before last rather, I think I heard 2 fireworks here, and that was literally it, 2 over the whole period. In Birmingham, when I was working with the police and I was in Solihull, so right in the busy sort of part of Birmingham, oh my goodness, I honestly felt I was part of some war. Like, it was insane. It was a whole new level, and I had no dogs with me for my relief. And actually, I think it's very different depending on where you might be living. So we appreciate it. We feel super, super aware for you, right?
Absolutely. And in fact, you can never take it for granted, because I remember I was actually doing a Facebook Live to the training academy talking about fireworks and how to prep for them and what to do about them. And my neighbour started letting off fireworks in the middle of the live. Like, you could not have made it up. And I'm there on a live like, okay, the dogs are downstairs. I'm doing a live. There's fireworks going off. There's lots of dogs that are probably listening on the live stream as well. We are going to think solutions here. And so,
as Tom's walking around the house putting the radio on.
Yeah, exactly. We're really lucky in that our dogs that we have don't currently have struggles. We touch wood and celebrate that and appreciate that every day. It's probably because of the skills and the concepts that have been grown over time. But what do we do this week, and what will we be doing regardless of the fact that our dogs are absolutely fine with fireworks?
Now, a couple of things. We're going to share some top tips. So some of the things that we might consider. Number one is I don't walk my dogs around that period. And I know that might sound for you guys terribly cruel. For me, that is terribly kind. And when I say that, what I mean is I would take them out in sensible times of day, if there is a sensible time of day. And I'll be honest, in Birmingham, there weren't that many sensible times, because they were being let off at all times over that day, which is in November, which is now. And so you'd have to be a little bit careful about that. It might be out for short toilet breaks. Definitely pre that type of time or that period, get your dog to be used to going to toilet on lead and being able to go potty, or whatever you call it in America and other places, because I certainly heard it a few times. They say go potty. That's what they said.
I love it.
That's what they said. But I'm not go party. Was how it sounded like go party.
Yeah,
like it's your birthday. So anyway, oh no, our lights changed. But anyway, with that, Mo, it's all going Pete Tong. The lights changed, but it's all fine. You're bright enough, Tom. It's all good. And so I suppose it's being able to prep that, knowing that the dog can go to the toilet on lead, because actually you don't want to risk dogs going to the toilet off lead in this period. Also, knowing that, say you were somewhere like maybe London or Birmingham, and you don't necessarily have your own garden or space to let your dog out to the toilet on, you need to know they're going to go to the toilet on lead, because you might not have time to take them to the park when there's lots of fireworks and noises and chaos going on. So actually, lead toileting for me is a must. And for my dogs, going to the toilet on cue when I need them to, and not messing me about, I suppose. So not like giving me hours and hours and hours and hours. Actually, I need them to go then and there, and then back in again. That would be one of my top tips.
Yeah, next tip would be always carry food on you in this period, so that you can support your dog where they're going to be open to support, right? Because it might be that your dog's not going to take food, but if you can get some positive outcomes in there as noises happen. And one thing that I think is really important that we do without even thinking about it, but we should probably explain, is that if we were doing this in this time period, we would be feeding for every noise. Yeah, we wouldn't just be waiting for the fireworks to start and then going in with the food. Actually, the more you prime your dog with noise equals food, bigger noise equals food, smaller noise equals food, big noise equals food, small noise equals food. Actually, the more you're going to be able to reach them in those times when actually fireworks are going off and you have no control over the volume or anything like that. You've got control over how much you prime them for that experience.
Okay, my next one would be, where possible, actually black places out, so you're not going to see the light go on and off. So you and when I say black out, what I mean by blackout for me is turn the lights on in the house and put the curtains or blinds or whatever it might be down, so those are down, and therefore you don't get those like crazy like flashlight moments. So the flashlight of the fireworks it's not happening. And so for your dog, they're not seeing those crazy changes, because even if you make it noisy in the house, like you've got the radio on or you've got the television on or anything else, your dogs often will see the change in lights, and they know what to predict. They're not stupid with this. So for me, have a good background noise on. So something like the radio, the television, some cool music, something that you like, nothing that sounds like fireworks, and definitely not TV with fireworks in it, because those dogs are pre-sensitive to it. They're going to clock those, and absolutely 100% black out places but have the light on. So for me, you've kind of made the scenario as neutral and normal and good as you can make it. And within that room, personally, I'll set up a crate, a den, a space, a puppy pen, a space where my dog is able to go and spend some time if they decide to retreat. Brilliant. And if they do retreat, I don't try and drag them out and make them okay. I let them retreat, and I let that be their coping strategy. And I try to say, well, actually, if there is an appropriate coping strategy, that is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So next tip is, we do this as a rule anyway, but we'd be making sure we were doing this doubly in this period, is we would have a variety. We'd have literally 2 drawers of the freezer full of filled bones, already filled lickable canine calm mats.
You can add your supplement, too many of these.
Calm in there as well. And the idea being that you're not having to quickly prep something. You're ready, they're frozen, they're pre-filled, they've got their calm canine in them, and you can be giving those. And that might be how a lot of their daily food allowance comes in this time. The next tip that we've got for you is a weird one, and that is, if your dog is experiencing fireworks and they seem a little bit worried, but they're not kind of gone to that stage of lights on, no one's home, I'm in my crate, I'm not coming out, or I'm not taking food, actually get them moving. Stick the music on, get them moving, get them, chasing bits of food, get them doing some left and right spins, or catching bits of food, or searching bits of food out. Actually moving in this time. If they're at not a level of fear where actually they're like, nope, that's not happening, then that can really help them cope with that. Weirdly, it's not weird if you think about it. If I said to you, I'm going to put a spider on you, you're not allowed to flick that spider off you, and you've got to sit in a chair and not move, that would be much worse than if I say, okay, I'm going to put a spider on your shoulder. You can walk around the room freely, walk as much as you want. You don't stop moving. You keep walking. You don't flick that spider off. Guess what? You're going to feel better because you're moving. It's effectively like a power pose.
So my next tip for you is have a happy list of behaviours. Yeah. So a list of happy behaviours for you might be, I'm thinking of one of my client's dogs. If she moves around and bounces, her dog runs up to her to try and play with her. If maybe we do some left spin, some right spin, some barking, some bowing, some retrieving with a toy, all of those things might come in handy for something like this. And so have a list of happy behaviours. So actually you can be topping up the optimism, and equally play some optimism games. So you know that if you're part of the training academy or Sexy and the Squirrel, then there are so many games that you can be playing to top up your own dog's optimism bank. If you are part of the training academy, just literally type in optimism when you're searching, and literally a whole host of games are going to pop up, right, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. And these are your tools, the building blocks of success. And this year it might be making the best of a bad situation, make the picture look 5% better than it did last year. That's fine. Then next year, let's aim for it looking 100% better than it did this year. That's the long-term brain reshaping is going to happen following this event, absolutely. But there are things that you can do in the moment.
And I would say most of all, guys, try to stay chilled yourself. Try not to get angry about the fireworks. Try not to be shouting at the sky. Try not to be getting annoyed at your neighbour. We absolutely appreciate that fireworks are less than ideal for pet owners and dog owners all over the world.
Absolutely.
For you guys, your dog's got their calm canine. You might need a bath and a gin and tonic or whatever it might be that is your sort of ability to go, this is okay and I can handle it. We know it is not the best scenario, and yet what we've got to do is find our best scenario within it, because you cannot control the uncontrollable, and that is the world liking fireworks. And so for us, that's something that we feel is really important, to give yourself a little bit of a let up, a bit of a pat on the back. You're doing your very best. It's not going to be necessarily the perfect scenario, and equally we've got to make the best that we can of a difficult scenario.
Absolutely. You're the very best dog owner your dog could ever wish for. You're listening to this podcast. There is stuff that you can do. There is stuff that you can make it 5% better. Support your dogs, help your dogs out in this time, be kind to your dogs, and also be kind to yourselves. That was this episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast. We will see you in the next episode, and remember, stay sexy! Hey, before you go, have you taken part in the worldwide Sexier Than a Squirrel challenge?
It's a 25-day online video program, huge energy, amazing community, and over 6,000 people are already taking part.
The only question is, you know where you are today. Where do you want to be 25 days from now? Head to absolutedogs.me/sexy.